Another top story we are following this hour is from Washington, where just a short time ago, Karoline Leavitt just updated the media in the press briefing. One of the key topics discussed was Operation Epic Fury and its progress toward completion.
The core objectives of Operation Epic Fury and this military mission continues unabated. From the outset, President Trump and the Department of War estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve this critical mission. 25 days in, the greatest military the world has ever known is ahead of schedule and performing exceptionally.
CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi has the information from our Washington bureau. Olivia, what were the highlights of this briefing?
Well, Meg, it's good to see you. First, the top highlight is that Karoline Leavitt was disputing the fact that the U.S. Had given a 15-point plan to intermediators to send that to the Iranians as part of this deal. She's saying that there was no 15-point plan. She told people not to report that. She said it was floated in the media. She cautioned reporters against reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. She went on to say that there were some parts of the plan that are true, including no nuclear weapon, destroying their ballistic capabilities, their Navy, their defense forces, and making sure that Iran would not in the future try to make a nuclear weapon. But as far as the exact 15 points, she disputed that, saying that those are not exactly true. And she would caution all reporters to not say anything that did not come from the White House. She did say that talks are continuing between the U.S. and Iran, but did not say exactly who the U.S. is talking to inside of Iran. Some of our own reporting suggests that there are intermediators that are talking between the country of Pakistan, Turkey as well, who are having conversations as third parties between the U.S. and Iran. But she says that some of these negotiations include the Vice President, the Secretary of State, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and the President's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. As far as the troop movements that are happening and going towards Iran, including the 82nd Airborne, Karoline said that part of that was to continue giving the president some options in the region. So notable there, especially as we are in this 5-day period where the president has paused any strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure. Lastly, Karoline also noted that the president's trip to China, which was scheduled to start later this week at the end of this month of March, has been moved officially to March 15th, 14th, and 15th. And when asked if that means the war will be done by then, Karoline said the expectation of the war was to be between 4 and 5 weeks, but she will not get ahead of the president in saying when this mission will be completed. Meg?
All right, so Olivia, the other big topic, and everybody wants to know, is when we're going to see an end to this partial government shutdown. We've all been seeing these extraordinary lines at airports, especially in Houston and Atlanta. Did she touch on that?
She did touch on that. She said part of the reason why the White House thinks Democrats have not come to a deal is because they are trying to distract from the success of Operation Epic Fury in Iran. That caught my attention there. But saying that there are still negotiations happening on Capitol Hill, hoping that they can reach some sort of a deal soon. She accused Democrats on Capitol Hill of moving the goalposts, saying that the White House has made concessions, that Republican senators have made those concessions as well. And every time they feel like they're getting close to an agreement, the goalpost gets moved even further and they ask for more. She also pointed out that the Senate is expected to go on recess tomorrow. They have a cloture vote scheduled and then expected to leave shortly after that, saying that if there is no deal reached, it would be important for the American people to see that Democratic senators and senators on both sides would be leaving Washington able to fly out and fly home, while other Americans, especially during this very busy travel season, are struggling with very long lines at TSA at various airports across the country. So notable there, no word on a deal yet, and with whether the president would even sign that deal. Yesterday, the president was asked about that in the Oval Office, and he sounded unwilling at that point to sign some sort of deal that was created between Senate Republicans and Democrats, saying he'd have to see it and weigh in. So it doesn't sound like they are quite close to a deal yet, but we are waiting to hear.
And Olivia, I'm not sure if she mentioned this at all, but as you know, that landmark decision just came down against Meta. I'm curious. I was just talking to our colleague, Caroline Leavitt, and asking her, what is it going to take for lawmakers to step in and start to regulate these platforms? Did she touch on that subject?
Yeah, it's a good question. I did not hear her touch on that subject as I was coming onto the set while her briefing was wrapping up. We have not gotten official readout from the White House on that trial, but it's notable for a variety of reasons. One, you mentioned that legislation. There has not been a big movement here in Washington towards any legislation to, punish some of these tech companies for addictive technology for young children. We also know that the president today announced a new council of advisors for technology and artificial intelligence, and it included Mark Zuckerberg and some of these big names of tech companies and tech leaders. And those continue to be people who talk to the president pretty regularly, according to my sources, that he leans on them a lot. He talks very glowingly about Mark Zuckerberg in particular and the investments that he's making in the United States. So it'll be interesting to see how the White House reacts to this landmark trial about children and the impacts of social media on their mental health.
All right, Olivia Rinaldi breaking it all down for us after that press briefing. We appreciate it.